The following message is transmitted by the request of the United States Health Department. There have been reports of a contagious virus spreading rapidly through the city of Chicago. Early symptoms include high fever, vomiting, and minor hallucinations. Second stage symptoms include paralysis, severe hallucinations, and coma. Final stage symptoms include erratic behavior, foaming from the mouth, and cannibalism. If you notice anybody with these symptoms, isolate them immediately. The state of Illinois recommends you stay indoors at all times until further notice. There is no known cure for the virus at this time. Once again, if you, or anybody you know have any of these symptoms, isolate them immediately. The United States Department of Health expects the virus to spread to surrounding states within 2 days. Emergency evacuations of the surrounding states are expected to begin within the next 3 hours.
Hello beauties and beasties, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a zombie makeup for you guys. And this is actually a spin-off of the original zombie bite video that I did a few months back, and that's why a lot of the stuff in the intro looks pretty familiar if you watched it. It's also the perfect time to do this makeup because the season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead just happened and Halloween is coming up. This makeup will be based off of one of Michonne's walkers that she had on the chains back in season 3. If you did watch the season 7 premiere or know anything about it, please don't put any spoilers in the comments. I already watched it, but some people still might not have for some reason, and we don't want to spoil it for them. This makeup is going to be a little bit more advanced, but I know if you guys believe in yourself, you'll be able to do it, and I will try to make it as simple as possible. I don't know what that accent was. So let's get to it. First, I'm taking my NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk and marking out where I want the jaw to be missing from. Unfortunately, I decided to go with a straight line across, which I don't know what I was thinking, but if I were to do this again, I'd make it a more jagged line, which is what I suggest you guys do, so it doesn't look like such a, clean cut. All I'm doing is taking that from the corner of my mouth up to the ear, but you can take whatever path you want to get there. After that, I'm taking my black Snazaroo face paint and I'm painting in all the area underneath the white line as well as some on my neck because that's where it's going to make it look like things are missing there and it gives more depth to the overall look. It was at this moment that I realized I had absolutely no cotton balls in the house and I really didn't want to go outside looking like I have the world's most awkward facial hair ever. So I decided to improvise with some Q-tips. It will take a lot longer for you to do this look if you use Q-tips rather than cotton balls. All I'm doing is ripping off the fuzzy end of the Q-tips and then, kind of ripping it apart to make it into a more cottony, fluffier texture. All I'm doing now is taking some liquid latex and lining it along where the jawline is going to be cut off at, and I'll be sticking some of the Q-tip fuzz onto that in order to make it look like the skin is kind of ripped off as well. I did that on both sides of my mouth and now I'll be moving on to the next step. This is my first time ever using gelatin and it was kind of a really interesting experience, but all you need are some gelatin packets, unflavored. You can find them at grocery stores. They are really inexpensive, so you can get a whole bunch of them. All I did was put some powder in a bowl, heated up some water in the microwave, and then poured the water into the bowl with the mixture and mixed it up until it was a nice jello-ish substance. I'm putting all the gelatin on the black painted area of my skin, and it's gonna kind of show the insides of a zombie, which is full of gross things. I've learned from this experience that gelatin is not the easiest thing to work with, but that's also a positive because you don't want it to be in very concentrated areas. You want to kind of have everything in a random spot, so that's a positive of using it. I didn't show it here, but I actually planned to put the gelatin a little bit further down my neck because I realized that it wasn't very far down, so I kind of wanted to extend into the neck area. Be prepared to not be able to move your neck at all until you take the makeup off because once the gelatin dries, your neck is going nowhere. In order to make myself look completely lifeless, I'm going to take a white eyeshadow base, which you can use whatever white product you want, and I'm just covering my face in that to give it a more dead, not living, also known as dead, look. For my base, I'm using the NYX white eyeshadow base in the color white. Thank you for clarifying. Because my white face paint went somewhere and I really have no idea where it is. I'm kind of irritated about that. But anyways, enough about my problems. Now that we've made ourselves look lifeless, it's time to make ourselves look dead and dirty. So I'm taking a mix of brown face paint and black face paint and a little bit of the white eyeshadow base and mixing those together and dabbing them all over my face and then kind of blending it in. I brought out the gelatin again because I'm going to use this to emulate some skin textures as well as some big open wounds. This is actually a tip that I found from Goretorial, one of the special effects artists of The Walking Dead. He did a video that kind of explained how you can do this kind of thing, so I'm just using that and applying it to my own zombie face thing. You can apply these anywhere on the face. I decided to put it on the forehead, the cheek, and on the side of the nose. Another tip that Goretorial gave was that you should use some liquid latex to add some texture as well, and this can help to add some gross skin effects. What I did is I placed it down and I let it dry, and then I used my fingers to peel it up some to add a little bit more texture to it. While that dried, I put some color into the wounds and stuff that I put on the face with the gelatin. I mostly use a mixture of browns and blacks to add dimension. Wow, that was interesting. Dimension, as well as adding where kind of rotten blood would be. I don't know if blood rots, but if it did, that's the color it would be. Those colors went towards the very indented parts of the gelatin, and then I'm using a green concealer to put on top of the raised parts to make them look more raised, as well as kind of a diseased color. You're probably wondering when we'll actually get to the mouth part, but don't worry, we're getting there. We just gotta do everything else first because we want that to be the last cool, fun piece that we do, right? And see, I told you we'd get there, don't worry. Now I'm just using some scab blood to put all over the gelatin and all over the cotton pieces that I put there before, and we're gonna make this turn into some magical zombie coolness. If you're using the cotton balls like I did, you really want to make sure that those are all covered up with either the blood or some paint or something, because you don't want people to see pieces of cotton on your face. For this, I highly suggest using scab blood and not vampire blood, which you can find scab blood at any Halloween store or on Amazon. It doesn't have to be the expensive type either. I just got mine from a Halloween store because the scab blood is a lot darker and thicker than the vampire blood is, so it will stick better and it will give a more realistic, gross effect. As you may have seen before, zombies' eyes are typically more indented into their skull, mostly because their body is decaying. So I'm using a brown face paint and applying that under my eyes and on my eyelid up to my eyebrow to make it an illusion of a more indented eyeball. I also went back to using my brown, black, and white face paint mixture that's kind of a grayish color, and I use that in the eyes as well because it adds a little bit more depth to it, but I suggest not using 100% black because that will act as more of a dramatic indentation rather than a more subtle zombie-like indent. I just said the word indentation, didn't I? Indentation. I am in college, I promise. At this point in the makeup, it's really up to you. I decided to use a stipple sponge and sponge on some of the scab blood, as well as putting on a little bit of the darker paint, which adds a little bit more dimension and all that, so you can pretty much do what you want after this. I used another one of Goretorial's tips, which is to use a bottle of hair conditioner and kind of rub that into your hair. Fair warning, it's very hard to get out in the shower. But this does add a more lifeless and realistic look to the whole zombie theme. Last thing I'm doing is putting in some white screen contacts to make it look like my eyes are completely white. Unfortunately, I don't have a pair of the foggy contact lenses, which make your eyes look more dead than like Exorcist-y. Make sure if you're putting in contacts that you wash your hands thoroughly after putting on the makeup because you don't want to get any of that makeup in your eyeballs. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys recreate this look, make sure you tag me. All of my social media will be down below. And Norman Reedus, just letting you know I'm a huge fan. I said that in my last zombie video, but I feel like I need to say that in like all my zombie themed videos. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay awesome.